Next question will start.
Yeah.
Just to make it look good. This is so fantastic. All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Rich. Hi, Rich. Hi, Rich.
Hi, Rich.
Okay, we got about 3 questions.
We got about 3 questions.
About 3 questions. I'm going to ask.
What is your favorite color? What is your mission?
But you don't know. So I'm reading things and paying more attention to some of the more quantitative things, so we can figure out what they're made of. And once we understand what they're made of, it will be easier to create things to communicate, to measure, etc.
I do think that we're definitely going to see a decline, from my perspective, in reality TV. I think that we've pretty much maxed out on the reality shows. I think that there has to be a twist.
What?
I think we have.
Some.
I think that it's time to rework that concept, to develop new theories like Petty's talking about. And Ghost Stop is doing an excellent job with 3locations.com, bringing in that new technology and bringing in that new edge and lining up, not just using one piece of equipment, but several pieces of equipment. It's not just about hunting. I don't see that in 10 years. I do see more of a scientific approach, but be more, I think, open-minded with the shows. Don't feel shunned.
No, he was showing you.
Yeah.
What I want to know is it hard to do naked ghost hunting?
I'm
Because
sure.
that's
That whole naked thing is. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I think in 10 years that we're going to see a lot more intelligent shows coming out.
That's why our shows aren't on anymore.
Exactly.
Boom!
I think I just want to clarify, and I agree with what she's saying, but I think to more accurately address the question, I mean, the shows are not research. The shows are not the ghost hunting field. I can like ghost hunting. Hi. That sounds exactly the same, right? Can you hear me? Hi. I'm too sexy for that. Yeah, the show's entertainment. Be entertained by them, whether they're dudes with beards, dudes with, whatever, funny accents, be entertained by it. But, our shows, they came and they went, that's not it. It's just watch it, be entertained by it, inspired by it, and then look further. If you see equipment on a show, don't just go, oh, I'm going to buy that now, don't know what it does or how to use it, because that had it. Whatever. I think in 10 years, I don't know what's hard to say. I would love to say that there's going to be an advancement by the quick process mindedness of this since the spiritualist movement hasn't been much true. There's been more things that I call evidence, blurry picture words, personal experiences. It's really important, don't get me wrong, but we have gotten a little closer to that data that we need to bring this pseudoscience, hard science. So I think if we all have this, learn from each other and get rid of fluff and get rid of the imitation, get rid of that we all do imitation of what we're doing, that we understand what we're doing, start challenging the status quo. Start challenging the status quo. I mean, we all look for EMS as a yardstick for spirits. Well, why do we do that? Spirits. Well, why do we do that? Well, maybe there's a different equation, maybe there's a different way to go about it. And I think that I'd like to see everybody challenge those norms instead of just quietly accepting them and saying, all right, I got my EMF detector, all right, I'm ready to go hunting. And you sit in their room and nothing's gotten done. Hi, welcome.
Hello.
Hi. And like First Come says, that's all I've got to say about that.
Brian actually does bring out a very valid point, the fact that around 15 years ago, I think 10 years, how long ago? 2004. Okay, so 10 years, okay, yeah, so about 10 years ago, a new show comes in, they're trying to debug stuff. And first season, they're talking about orbs and the difference between what's dust and what's spirit. And in fact, Ron even had a whole blog about what's what. Eventually, what happened is, we were able to determine that there are no spiritual orbs. What it essentially is dust, pollen, moisture, within some sort of air or contaminant. But we got this, that's the best one because it has a trail.
It does.
No way! Looks like a fairy. Best thing ever. Hey, we're onto something. No, anyway. Squirrel. But the thing is, as we progress and as we do research, we discover things aren't. The paranormal field is basically theory after theory after theory, and we're testing theories. And as we create a theory and we start to test that theory, we end up creating several other theories from that theory. And it's all about the testing and the research and the experimentation. And by doing that, we gain knowledge. And from that knowledge, we're able to dismiss a lot of things. The problem I see, though, is that a lot of people don't want to dismiss it. They want to hold on to it. They want evidence every time they go on an investigation. They want to walk away from the investigation and say, I got a ghost. Whereas the reality is, I went to the most haunted locations around the world. And rarely did we caught a couple of things like shit hot. I mean, they were really good. But Germans, I threw out every page. I don't. You suck.
It's a ghost.
I don't show.
Yeah. This is why we can't have nice things. This is how we get it. Yes. I hate it as a DVDs, for example, people hear what they want to hear at the time. You know, you're listening to some sort of white noise or whoever, you eventually want to hear something. And if you hear a no, bang, great, but there's not enough rational thinking going on at this point. You know, you're listening to this stuff and you just want to have a ghost. And that's, I think, the biggest problem. There's too many thrill seekers, so to speak. You know, people who see Zach running around, and we refer to Zach because he is the epitome of entertainment. Not research, but entertainment. That's what that show is. It's entertaining. You watch that show not to learn something, or maybe to learn how not to do something, but ultimately you watch it because you know he's just going to get possessed or something. You know, and you just want to see it. Or, you know, it's entertaining. That's what it is. But it doesn't mean you're going to go around and get possessed. And you know, there's not demons everywhere. I hate the word demon. I've never, ever experienced anything in that sort of negative element, ever, that I would ever say it's a demon. It's too many people throw that around. In fact, that wasn't Zach's fault. That was the other dude. What was the Paranormal State? Yeah, who was that? Brian Peel. Oh, demon everywhere. Along with his captain's log. Do you remember that? Captain's log.
Don't say the name. Don't say name.
What name?
Its name.
Whose name?
The demon.
There's a demon?
You said his name once.
Don't say it.
I don't know.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. I forgot his name. Yeah, so with the, I mean, so in 10 years, are we going to progress? I don't know.
Are you cutting them off?
No.
Okay.
Am I being cut off?
No.
No, I was just wondering. In my defense, he's talking.
Oh God, look, you can't just stop. What was the question?
Question: where do you see the paranormal investigation in 10 years?
2025.
Good answer.
Start date 2025. Where I see the future of ghost hunting is a bear that does it all for you.
I'm not doing it all for you.
No, I mean, real quick, I think.
Oh, dude, that was awesome.
The only, I think the thing that keeps us going in this field is trying to find out what that answer is. I think if we knew what that goal was, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing.
UFOs then.
Be looking at UFOs or something, but yeah, bears.
You're not getting another dog.
Dude, that's okay. It's that way now. It's like Ghostbusters reboot.
Just realized I'm the only guy in the state on it. That's a good one.
Give it a couple months.
Yeah, well, I did. I was a UEO security guard on Sequest.
There you go. Sequest DSV. He just trumped all of us. Jonathan Brandis.
10 years from now, technology advances exponentially. When I started in aerospace 35 years ago, the computer we had to run our simulation took up half a wall. It had 64K of memory in it and sucked up enough power to power this entire hotel. Now I have 10 times that power right here clipped to my belt. Everything I've got in this phone used to take up half this table. Camera, digital recorder, everything else. We didn't have LEDs back then, you know. Everything is smaller, it's cheaper, it's faster. And I don't see any of that stopping in the next 10 years. So, but given that, all the technology in the world doesn't do any good if you don't know how to use it and don't know how to interpret the results from it. So, you know, that's why you have the bear that does everything.
Real quick, is there one question for you? Is there a question for the audience? Does anybody have just one?
At your location.
Just one? One person? Okay, we're gonna move on to the next question. How does your belief affect your abilities in the investigation field?
Okay, sure. Who is? How does my belief affect my investigation? Part of the thing you have to do when you're going into an investigation is to kind of suspend some of your belief. Belief implies presupposing things that you expect to happen. Belief is also an evolving thing, or should be an evolving thing. Belief should never be so firmly set that you refuse to accept any other inputs. So,
I think you're just excited now, Mr. Porter over here.
so.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, isn't it? I think for me, oh man, this gets real deep, doesn't it? I don't know what my belief is. I think there are many, many possibilities, and to narrow that down to just one is very tough for me. So I think therein having those multiple possibilities of belief makes me a huge skeptic. So, you know, I need documentation of something. I need proof of something. I can't just go on belief of a theory or a hypothesis without, you know, some kind of direction. So,
I believe that children are actually.
I knew it.
I believe I can fly. I believe that. Good. I didn't want to. You knew it.
I'd be disappointed.
Yeah, you'd only be disappointed if I didn't. I think Ken, to be honest with you, sort of hit the nail on the head here. I mean, the problem is that a lot of people go into an investigation with a preconceived notion that the location is haunted because it looks haunted, or because it's got a history and potential haunting. It doesn't make a haunted location. You know, you've basically got to go in there completely open-minded to the whole possibility that nothing's going to happen. But at the same time, all hell will break loose. So good luck with that.
Good luck.
Yeah, so best of luck. And who's going downstairs? But yeah, you know, the thing is, and again, I think, to be honest, Ken really did just nail it. You know, belief is it's an evolving thing. You know, as you progress, as you research, as you discover, you know, your beliefs change. I believed at one point that an orb was a spirit. It was for a very brief time. Very brief. And I believed in all sorts of other things, but as I progressed and as I investigated, I have various different ideas now. And I think it's more ideas than belief, but, you know, again, going back to the whole theory thing, there's so many possibilities, and they're discovering, I mean, shit, they just discovered another Earth. I mean, Christ, are there ghosts on that one as well? I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, there's so many things. We believed we were alone in the universe. We believed the Earth was flat.
You got me back as well.
Those hundreds interplanetary.
Yeah. The fact is, the person is smart.
People are stupid.
Yeah. But yeah, I do a lot of movie quotes too. This is going to be an interesting weekend. But yeah, ultimately, I think that again, I've avoided the question.
All right, so you went through Dogma, you went through Men in Black, you're running out of movies to let me use. So I know the spirit in which the question was asked when it comes to belief, and a lot of times people assume that they have to be in one camp or another. Either you're religious or metaphysical, or hey, I'm scientific, I'm going to go by facts. And for the most part, belief, if we're going to go semantically on this, we all believe. Everything is belief. Because whether you investigate, with the love and lighters and say, hey, okay, the feeling and personal experiences, your belief is all that is required, and they don't quite need the empirical proof that some of the rest of us do. And on the other side, those of us who use gear and gadgets and want that empirical data, we're believing in the theories that tell us that this is fact. Like Paul and Barry Sonnenfeld, where we're getting to, we used to believe that the Earth was the center of the universe. We used to believe that the Earth was flat. We used to believe that gnomes Inhabited bodies caused sick. That's what the brilliant minds of our time told us so, and we bought it. We believed it, and we had no reason not to until we found out more information that contradicted that and proved otherwise. And that's what we're doing right now. Whatever we believe,
like you said, and Kevin Smith, it's better to have an idea than a belief, because belief is hard to change. We've gone to war over belief. We've spent our entire existence as a species fighting over belief. An idea is easy to change. You know what? Oh, hey, I was wrong. Oh, I don't think that anymore. Now I think this. And as long as we as investigators keep that open mind, not just to believe, but to be able to change those ideas, that's going to get us a little further. And that's why belief is important, because, we're not robots. We pretty much act entirely on belief. And once again, that's all I got to say about that.
Okay. The question was, again, can you say it one more time, Rich?
How does your belief affect your abilities in the investigative field?
So, how does your belief system affect your abilities in your investigation? I personally believe that my beliefs should not at all affect my investigation. It has everything to do with your client's beliefs. If you do not take your client's beliefs into consideration and apply them into what you're helping them with, what are you doing? They have to believe in it. You basically, if you're taking your beliefs and applying your beliefs to someone's home in your investigative process, and they don't invest in that belief, you don't have that buy-in from them, is that helping them? I don't think so. So the question was, in an investigation, how does it affect your investigation? I think I can pretty much say with Essential Paranormal, we try to put our beliefs aside and we investigate. Is there cold hard facts? No. But we try to get as much information as we can, through recordings, through bears, through, all the tools that we have out there. There's many different tools that we can use, but it has to start with the client's beliefs first. They're the ones that are important. That's my answer on that.
I think I answered the question in the other room. I no longer investigate, mostly because I can't stand evidence review.
Amen.
Just can't do it. There are other reasons. You buy beers, I'll give you a glass of moonshine, and I might tell you about those.
Okay, before I take audience questions, we have one final question. Your final thoughts. From the very beginning to where you stand today, your research, did it make a difference to you? Did it make a difference at all? What you researched?
Yes, my particular case did tremendously. I was born with a house ghost, and he was not evil. There was nothing negative about it. And as a matter of fact, he was very much my ally during some very, very difficult times of my life. And then I ran into some things in this particular field. In a nutshell, basically, I ended up at the hospital with a client who had blown their head off and trying to explain to the police officers what really happened and how this has been a 3-month-long process getting us to where we are now. And so, yes, in my case, I had never seen anything negative until closer to the end. And y'all didn't have 5 new moonshine for that.
Teddy, you just made me totally forget the question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think the question is,
Sorry.
your final thoughts, your research. Did it make a difference to you? Does it, I want to, from when you started till now, is there a difference in your thoughts when you first started investigating to what you think of today?
Oh, yes, definitely. There's definitely innate gifts. There's sixth sense abilities that we all have. Whether or not those develop naturally or you choose to develop those on purpose is up to you. The research that I've done, I can say, has pushed me more into the scientific aspect of things. Growing up, being sensitive, being aware of the spirits, being able to communicate with spirits at the age of 4, that's all I knew until I started formally doing investigations and really looking at evidence. I had to backtrack and go, okay, I need to separate this. I need to be able to separate this and look at the evidence, be able to measure, be able to not just use myself, my tools that I innately was born with. I had to also use those scientific methods. So yes, I learned a great deal. And today, I do things a lot differently. I don't like to, personally, and this is something, wow, I can't believe I'm going to share this.
Let's get real in here.
So we went all over the world.
Are we live streaming?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you are live.
Internet, Amy, internet.
See that little box? That's the internet.
That's the world.
Alrighty. Being able to communicate with spirits and being a medium carries a great deal of responsibility. Sometimes, for good, and Red, anyone else that has these abilities can say it's either a curse or a blessing. And it's both. I'm sure we've all heard that. You know, it's either a curse or a blessing. But
With great power comes great responsibility.
yes, yes, it is. You have to be responsible. So I choose, and Jeremy can probably attest to this. I keep a log now. I don't discuss anything with my team I put it in log, and it's submitted after evidence review so that it can be validated appropriately. There's no preconceived notions. There's no I feel, I smell, I heard, and that's what I've learned. That it's far better, even if you do have those innate gifts, once you start pouring those gifts and those words into your investigation, you've just tainted your investigation. All that hard work, you've just tainted it. And that's not what you want. So that's what I've learned.
Thank you. Short and sweet. This is a work in progress. When I first started investigating in 2002, I was a skeptic. I am not anymore. Reading, researching, doing the work, going on cases. I mean, when I first began, I had no system of faith. I didn't believe in a God or a higher power. I didn't believe in ghost spirits. And just in doing this, I've learned otherwise. So I always tell people that the paranormal, what we do, it's a road. There's one road. We're all traveling it. We're at different points on it. We're traveling sometimes in different directions at different speeds, but we're eventually going to get to that to the end point and get those answers. I can't say where I'll be in 10 years. Maybe I'll come back here in 10 years and be a skeptic again. Who knows? Maybe there'll be yet a fourth category for me to put myself into. But yeah, my research has changed me. It's mattered to me because 2002 Brian and 2015 Brian are very different people. Probably wouldn't get along. Thank you.
When I first, the reason I got into the paranormal in the first place was watching a lot of television. I grew up watching the X-Files and science fiction, Doctor Who, and Star Trek, Star Wars, things like that. I believed that there was life out there. I believed whether there's aliens out there or it's ghosts or anything. Everything on these shows that they touched upon, I wanted to be involved in. You know, I wanted to go out there and investigate these things. And I got the opportunity, and I did, and I went out there not knowing what to expect. I was very, I was green when I went out with GHI. I hadn't really experienced a lot. I'd been on investigations, but I hadn't experienced anything, really, until probably my first investigation with GHI, where I felt something touch me in the back of the head. You know, as soon as you have that first experience, it does change you. Hello, Internet. But it does change you. I mean, it now confirms what you believed. At least that's how I kind of see it. Is that you go in there looking for something, and when you find it, it changes what you're after, what you believe.
You're such a screw.
What?
She still doesn't believe it's on the internet.
No, it is. It's on Google Plus. Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Go on.
Awesome.
You gotta have belief.
Believe.
Look, you feel the internet right there. Right there. No, there it is. There it is.
I bet if you turn off the lights, it'll be in the work there.
Hold on.
Welcome to Mining 101, everyone.
Look, everyone knows the internet is a box. That's an all. You're just being weird at this point. That's some weird shit on the internet, but it just got weird.
You guys just let it crash on the floor.
Yeah, but the cameras are facing us. They don't care. The internet's watching.
They had the opportunity to play with y'all. Never mind.
Anyhow, as far as that's concerned, we're talking to nobody.
Huh? Sorry, we're
Because we're getting no reactions. What's
Hello.
the question?
You don't see them, they're on the internet.
Just your final thoughts, your research. Where do you stand today from when
Oh, right, that's right. I remember now. So yes, I went into this really not knowing what to expect, and when you start to experience things, that's when your experiences change. I mean, that's when your beliefs change, and that's where you start to analyze what happened, analyze what you experienced, and then you hypothesize, you theorize, you start changing the research, and it doesn't matter if you're a believer or no, it does matter. But I think that the key to any paranormal is to remain skeptic. You can believe in the paranormal, but you still have to remain skeptic. When you see something, when you experience something, you don't just jump at, it's a ghost. You've got to analyze what you just had. You can't just, because that's blind faith. That's just, great, it's a ghost, I got a ghost, I can leave. You have that experience, and you need to analyze what you just experienced. At the time, yes, it's great, it's the best thing in the world, but then you step away from it, and then you start to try to figure things out. And from that, you start to hypothesize and theorize it. And I'm just trying to use big words, British accent, and throw arms and arms in, because that works if you run. So ultimately, yeah, right.
So you're more of a believer now than you were when you first started?
No, because I never didn't believe. I have experienced stuff. That's the thing, is just because I've experienced doesn't make me any more of a believer than I was before. And I've always had the belief that there's something out there. I've always believed. I mean, it's naive to think that we're alone in space. It's naive. I mean, that's what to think that we are alone on this planet. I think that's naive. And so, therefore, you've got to have that belief, but remain skeptic. And I think, my theories have changed, my ideas have changed, and all this. I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, that's just human evolution. That's how we evolve as people. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned 2 David Duchovny projects and one next to it.
I know. I love
Thank you.
That makes sense.
So,
Yeah. So many big words.
I think this field changes you anyway. I think, thinking about when I started, just, running around the room trying to figure out, and of course, my perspective is the technical side, making equipment and all that kind of stuff. So, my evolution as an investigator definitely went in that direction. So if I look from now back to when I started, there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between, if we all did it, you take your phones, or if I had a phone back then, you put something on the internet or send a picture to a family member, and it's an orb, it's a piece of dust, and we all did it, let's be honest. I wouldn't do that now. I mean, if I'm looking at, little things like that, that collectively, I think, are the things that change you. Your methodologies are what change you. Your clients are what change you. There are some clients and investigations that have really changed not necessarily my methodology, but how we would interact with them, how I work with them. I have an interesting story about that maybe for more nights, a little bit longer, but even though I have a skeptical standpoint, I have to, like Amy said, is to take into account the client's belief system before you just throw at them, no, dust. I would have done that before. I mean, if I'm looking at, if you go through that whole evolution of who I was as an investigator, it went from, so many different, hills and valleys, where I would have been really hardcore skeptic, and now to this day, I definitely more so take into account the client's belief system than I would have before. Even thinking about my own personal methodology, still have to take that into consideration. But I think it's a lot of little things that collectively make make, and change it. But to me, that is all dwarfed by what I hope we can change for other people. It doesn't matter how I change. It doesn't matter how Ghost Stop changes, how my team changes, how anybody here in this room changes. It's what we can do collectively for the field to change everybody. I don't know.
Thank you.
As I said, I'm an engineer. I'm also the son of an engineer. Growing up, ghosts were something from Hollywood and television. When you died, you either went up above the clouds or down under the crust of the earth, and there was no coming back from that. As I got older, saw more, those beliefs started melting away a little bit, and I started realizing there's a little bit more beyond my little world there. Interestingly enough, one of the things that really pushed me into getting more into the paranormal was a conversation I had with my engineer father. The most interesting fact about that conversation was it happened 10 years after he died. Kind of getting back to Brian's comment, there's a great quote that I've heard many times. There are many paths up the mountain, but the only one who is truly lost is the one going around trying to tell everyone else that they're lost.
Thank you. Now, is there any questions? Any questions for the panel? They answered all your questions? You have a question? Over here.
What's for cash?
Oh, yeah. Be specific as to.
I hope that I can at least ask the question correctly. Brian said that he was hoping that this field would become hard science. And I'm married to one of the...
I didn't say that, that's a misquote. I said there are those who would like it to be hard science.
Like it to be hard science, okay. My husband is 99.99% skeptic. Thinks all of this is... No, it's not a bad thing. He and I get into a many heated discussion. However, as a scientist, he says it will never become a hard science because it has to be duplicated in a laboratory. And I just don't see that happening. Do you see it happening at all, ever?
I don't know if it can be duplicated in a laboratory, but there are many things that are real that can't be duplicated in a laboratory.
But they'll say it's not a true science. I've heard it from many people, not just my husband.
Does it have to be a true science to be believable?
Oh, I don't think so.
What things you get on meeting?
I think
What is it?
just picking, like Ken said, there are a lot of sciences that you cannot duplicate in a lab. I mean, psychology is one of those examples. I mean, no two people are going to react always in a lab to the same stimuli. Never. So, it's an awesome belief to be able to say on off like a computer. On off 1 0. It either is or it isn't. But I don't believe life works that way.
Okay, any other questions for the panel?
Don't be shy.
Ask away.
15 more minutes.
Okay, we got a question. We got a question.
We don't have more
Okay,
questions.
no, no.
You'll be proud.
If we don't get more questions, we're just gonna let Paul talk for the rest.
Think real hard.
Fair enough.
Question.
One of my, I guess, questions are,
Hey.
what was one of the worst investigations you've gone to as far as if any of you had ever been actually assaulted or attacked or brought anything home with you?
Hitchhikers? No, never. There was this one time in Italy. It was Fortress Fenestrella, I believe, and it was one of the investigations where we actually had 4,000 steps to climb. Do I look like someone who walks 4,000 steps? And you know the thing about walking up 4,000 steps? You've got to walk down 4,000 steps. And they weren't even that level steps either. They were just bricks, and there were some longer. So it was nice. But anyway, that wasn't the point yet. When we were at the top, there was some story about fascist movements that took place, and Susan heard the fascist movement and thought Nazis. Straight away, Nazis. She started calling out Nazis, and there was no reason for it because it wasn't anything to do with the Nazis. Even though there was a swastika on the wall, someone sprayed it as graffiti. It was actually these farmers that formed some sort of movement against the government of some sort. But ultimately, she pissed somebody off. That was the key. She actually upset something in there, so much so that a stone was thrown at her during the investigation. I saw it coming down, and it happened once, and we thought it was pretty cool. Well, I thought it was pretty cool. And then it happened again. And what happened is the stone actually got a little bit bigger. I mean, it started off as a stone, and then it turns like a bit of a brick. And that kind of worried us a little bit at that point because, there was nobody else around. Everybody was accounted for, and this brick just sort of essentially came from nowhere. So we sort of called a halt to that part. So we left that room, although we were still in the same building. We left that room and we were doing our interviews, our what we call as OTS, which are on-the-fly interviews. And essentially, what happens is, it was me being interviewed, and I'm standing there. My producer is here, my camera guy is here, and my audio guy is here. He's got the boom mics just underneath, so I'm talking there. I'm talking to the producer, and the camera guy is getting sort of like a sort of off-centered shot. Susan, at this point, is sitting on the floor because she's had 2 stones thrown at her. She's like, screw this, I'm going to sit right in the middle. This is the safest part for me. So I'm doing my interview, and as we're explaining what's happened, a rock about this big came flying through my shoulder down, hits the floor, bounces up, and hits Susan. My camera guy shits himself. My audio guy shits himself. My producer shits himself. And I'm like, I don't know who I was going to punch. I don't know what. Just my immediate reaction was fists, which is funny because they end up using that in the commercial. So, G.I. Joe next week, all fights a ghost. I don't know, but that, yeah, fight. Ultimately, that to me, I mean, it didn't affect me, other than the fisty thing. It wasn't aimed at me, and it was, but Susan obviously pissed something off at that point. So, as far as sort of, I wouldn't say it was a negative entity because, I mean, if you're going to start calling someone names, you could just be the most mild person ever, but start pissing them off, people get pissed off. I know, right? I've got skills. What was I going to say? What you do that? But ultimately, I think that, for me, that's probably the most negative I've experienced. It wasn't towards me, but I've seen it happening, and that's pretty cool. I mean, again, not for me, but, sorry, not for her, but I thought it was kind of cool because we were actually seen and there was no reason for it. I didn't see where it's coming from. I didn't, that was pretty cool.
Over the years of my doing this, I've been touched, pushed, pulled, scratched, almost a full gamut of experiences. Yeah, no, it's an entire thing. That's just producers, yeah. I've been to see a full body operation. Oh, this is gonna be. Oh my God, that's another conversation. But it's hard for me to say what is the worst. I'm notoriously bad at picking favorites, or like I can't choose because every investigation that I've been on, every experience I've had has given me a piece of the puzzle that I'm putting together. But I will say I've only had one case that was severely negative. Like Paul, I too hate the word demon because I think it's overused. And you go to these events and there's the demons there in the black t-shirts and the fuzzy pictures of orbs on their table, and they're like, yeah, we had a demonic case last month. Oh, this is our 5th one. We're so busy. Like, are you really? Are you? It happened to me once, and I remember after I was sitting there on the train tracks, just shaking, and I'm intent to never do another case like that. I'll leave it to the old man. And as far as anything following me home, I'm a guy, so I'm notoriously good at compartmentalizing things and ignoring things. So my home is my safe zone. I don't practice there. I don't research. I don't do anything inside the house. I don't test new gear there. If something has followed me home, I mean, I don't really even watch the shows. I'll watch maybe once or twice just to see what they're about. But when I go home, I want to be in Middle Earth, South Park. I want to be in space somewhere, not connected to what I do on an almost daily basis. So yeah, so it's my safe zone. That's my fortress of solitude. So yeah, if anything ever has followed me home, it probably got bored very quickly because I thought, this guy's not paying attention to me on this. So, to answer your question,
get off the Xbox.
I know this guy, so much internet porn, this guy.
My day!
Can you do that?
She does now.
Oh, God. I'm not going to put a whole lot of energy into this question because, okay. Have I been followed home? Yes. Again, and I say it a lot. I mean, if you're in this field and you're investigating things, you have a responsibility. I mean, you're going to come across things that you just have to take a responsibility for and practice safely. Is it fun? No. We've led public investigations where you're responsible for other people. Say, for instance, you're leading a public investigation and you have somebody that's taunting or provoking, just to get any kind of evidence. I have so many different things to say about that, but this one particular location, I was followed home on a regular basis, and have been to this location quite a number of times, trying to help clear this negative entity. Again, I'm not going to put a whole lot of energy into it. However, it's real. It is a risk. And this is something that we say often. If you're an asshole in life, you're going to be an asshole in death. Doesn't mean it's a demon.
No.
Just an asshole. So, that's my 2 bits on that.
All right, just a couple minutes.
All right, real quick. No, nothing's ever followed me home simply because if I feel like something's coming home with me, we stop and get rid of it before we get home. My home is a fortress. Even human live people who have negative energy can't stay there. I have a lot of story to tell, and based on John and a few other people, they're forcing me to write a book. If you want to hear the rest of the story, you can get the book.
Very good. Thank you. Just want to let everybody know that Ken will be up in this room shortly.
Take a 10-minute break.
Yeah, take a 10-minute break, come on back, and Ken will be here. Also, I wanted to talk to everybody. You got a cell phone? What we were doing this year is, normally we put on a stage play during dinner, but this year we thought we'd try something different. Because everybody now has cell phones. Take a little video, make a little movie, a little story. Maybe talk about something you investigated. Or you can do it as a spoof, or you can do it comedy. Take a couple minutes. If you need help, you can come and see me, and we can also edit it for you. And you can use the grounds, do it anywhere around. Just have fun with it. And we'll show it at the dinner.
It's for the trophy.
Trophy.
2 silver tickets.
Just get with me if you have any questions, and put something together. We're going to try to keep it around 3 minutes. Also, MoveOn is going on right now. Okay, MoveOn will be in the Bob Kelly room. If you're interested in UFOs.
Go stop. Relocation.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you guys. Thank you for
you.